Hello again. Thank you very much for staying with us here as we set the agenda this morning. I'm Criselda Lewis. So we'll take you to a dive site here on the agenda, specifically to the Aliwal Shoal in Umkomaas, and that's in the south coast of KwaZulu-Natal. So it's about a half-hour's drive from Durban. So divers rate that particular diving site as one of the top 10 dive spots in the world. So the marine life of the shoal is said to be spectacular. It's one of the 42 South African marine protected areas and is being increasingly recognized globally as a giving game reserve of the sea. So we learn more about the Aliwal Shoal from the Marine Protected Areas, a spokesperson, Dr. Judy Mann. Dr. Mann, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time with a bit of the hot weather. I must say I'm a bit jealous. If I knew how to dive, I'd probably be there. It really sounds spectacular. But what's so special about the Aliwal Shoal?
Good morning to you and good morning to all your listeners. And thank you so much for this opportunity to share Marine Protected Areas Day with you all. Now, the Aliwal Shoal is one of South Africa's 41 coastal and ocean marine protected areas around our mainland. And it's a really special one. It's actually one of the older marine protected areas, and it protects a unique ecosystem along the coast. So that's unique animals and plants that live deep in the ocean. It's really important gathering area for sharks. So a very important area for sharks, ragged-toothed sharks, black-tip sharks. And it's a place that's reasonably accessible because, as you said, it's just pretty close to Durban. So people from Durban, people coming down from inland can get to dive quite easily there. There are a whole range of different tourist operations. There's accommodation there. So it really is a nice accessible place for divers to explore the ocean. And more than that, even if you're not a diver, so if you're not a diver, you can still come and explore the amazing rocky shores and get a tiny glimpse into the incredible marine life that we have along our coast.
And Dr. Mann, I want to talk about that. I mean, I understand it's got its own rocky reef. What does this mean to the uninitiated diver or swimming in the sea?
So when we go out into the ocean, we look out over the ocean and we just see a blue blanket. We don't realize that just like on land, we've got deserts and we've got forests and we've got fynbos and we've got grasslands. In the ocean, we've got exactly the same different ecosystems. So we've got rocky shore areas, we've got sandy beach areas, we've got kelp forests down in the cold water, we've got the coral reefs up on the east coast. And in Aliwal Shoal, it's a really interesting mix. So there is interesting animals, interesting corals, amazing soft corals, and then range of different fish species found there. We've got a special spawning ground for some of our fish, which means that they like to reproduce there. So it really is a very special place along our coast.
I mean, this game reserve of the sea, as it's referred to, is teaming up with the wildlife also. What are some of the species there?
So if we think around our coast, we've spoken about the marine protected areas, and each one of those marine protected areas is a special part of the coastal ocean that has been selected because of the unique range of plants and animals that live there. So as we go around our coast, if we look at the Isimangaliso marine protected area in northern KwaZulu-Natal, that's protecting animals as unique as the coelacanth, which is sometimes called a living dinosaur, and the coral reefs. As we move down to Aliwal Shoal MPA, there we're looking at other species like the soft corals. It's a spawning ground close to Aliwal Shoal MPA of the 74, which was a fish that was really popular in KZN until it was fished almost to commercial extinction. But the good news is the 74 is starting to come back.
Looks absolutely stunning. Some of the supplied footage there, it just looks absolutely beautiful. But of course, raggies, or is it the ragged-toothed sharks, are also prevalent at this time, I think, around until about November. Is it safe to dive at the shoal?
So people have this fear of sharks, and it's something that I think is part of many people's lives. They've grown up knowing about shores. In actual fact, sharks are amazing animals. They're perfectly adapted to the ecosystems that they live in. And people are not a natural part of any shark's diet. So sometimes people are bitten by sharks, but generally it's a case of mistaken identity. So diving on the shoal is generally a pretty safe thing to do. And the divers that have been diving there for years have got to know individuals. They've got to know the sharks in the area. And it really is a unique opportunity. It's this amazing experience when you get into the water and you're with these incredible ocean predators, and they just often ignore you. They completely ignore you. They're going about their business, their daily lives, looking for food, looking for mates, doing what they do naturally. And just it's such a privilege to be a diver and to get into the water with these amazing animals.
All right, I think my fear is still there, but it absolutely looks spectacular, Dr. Mann. So you've also just marked the second annual MPA Day. How was that done?
So the second annual Marine Protected Areas Day, or MPA Day, was a great celebration of these special game reserves in the ocean. And we did it in a number of ways. Last year we had the first one, which was just really testing the water. We'd never in the world had there been a celebration for Marine Protected Areas Day before. So South Africa was really the first country to ever do this.
Yeah.
And it was just a South African celebration last year. This year we've grown and we've actually had celebrations around in different countries in the world. They've noted it. In South Africa, we did celebrations in a number of different marine protected areas, ranging from the Table Mountain Marine Protected Area, where we had children and adults exploring the rocky shores, all the way around through our celebrations. You saw some footage today of the Aliwal Shoal, where we had a paddle out. We had the NSRI with us. We had surfers and divers. We had a little talk on the beach. And then in Isimangalisa, we had a whole group of children actually on the rocks, exploring the rocks, learning about marine protected areas. We had art competitions. We have a photographic competition coming up. If you haven't taken part yet, it's still time to join our photographic competition. We've had a Twitter chat. We had a scientific webinar and lots of media. And it's really all about helping people to understand that we have these special places along our coast and in the ocean, and that they're really worth protecting, both for current generations as well as for future generations.
So very quickly, which sites can we visit to learn more about these particular areas and the fantastic stuff that happens there? There's really stunning visuals that our team has provided for us there, just taking a look at the screen. So where can we go? Which sites can we visit to have a look more about MPA Day? All right, we're going to try and establish that connection with Dr.
We have a couple of sites. We've got the Marine Protected Areas.
Please go ahead, Dr. Mann. We had a bit of a break in transmission there. Please go ahead.
No problem. So we have marineprotectedareas.org.za. That's one of our websites, and you can go to the Marine Protected Areas Day tab there. That's got filled with information all about our South African marine protected areas. And then we've got a Facebook page, we've got Twitter, we've got Instagram. We've just hosted a new video that's coming up there. So just Google Marine Protected Areas South Africa and you'll be able to find lots of information. Please learn and share that information. It's such a pleasure to share our MPAs with you today.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Mann. Absolutely fantastic. Thanks indeed for joining us here on the program. Dr. Judy Mann is the spokesperson for the Marine Protected Areas. Dr. Mann is also an executive of strategic projects at the Two Oceans Aquarium Foundation. Thanks indeed for joining us on the program. Let's move on to other news now.